Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Monday edition of Moohead Radio. I'm your host, a big and furry bovine. Joining me on the panel so far is Bronk in merry old England, just off of a
Blues.
stint in Spain. So, there's something I want to get off my chest to begin on this program. And sometimes the most important things come at the beginning of the show, sometimes the middle of the show, sometimes at the end of the show, and sometimes nothing important or significant happens during the entire show. That's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
There was a post of somebody who posted at a person who has been critical of Deshaun Watson and says, "Now do you believe?" ?
Yeah.
And I got to thinking about this, and I was looking at a story about people who believe that JFK Jr. didn't die in a plane crash and is still alive, and that he has been touched by Jesus to end up teaming up with Donald Trump in the White House. And these are an offshoot of QAnon people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And it's, my feeling about belief is belief doesn't necessarily mean anything. Belief is what your choice is, and you have a right to choose what you believe. But in the sense of a sporting event, a given athlete, there is something that is more significant than that. The first thing I'm going to say is that I was wrong. I picked the Titans to win that football game, and I was wrong. And the reason that I chose the Browns to lose is because I saw them get pushed by a physical football team and lose a game that they should have won. And reacting to this with players saying, well, we kind of panicked on the offensive side of the ball afterwards, I didn't think we were in a real good place. And so my prediction was based upon just what players were saying and what I saw. And that's that. I was wrong. And I don't understand what's so hard about saying I was wrong. Because, everything in sports, if we were looking at individuals, is based on a body of work.
Correct.
I mean, we can't go week to week to week like we're doing and have any insight into anything. We can look back and say, oh my God, Tom Brady was the GOAT,
Yeah.
We look at his body of work and we say, yeah, we can look at Michael Jordan and LeBron James. We can look at those people. We can say, yup, body of work, man. If you're saying that Michael Jordan sucked, or if you're saying LeBron James sucks, then, there's no hope for you. You can't see outside of your own little box. And as I was prepping for the show today, I'm seeing this unfolding in media. The apologists who are, rather than coming out and saying what I just said to start out the show, I was wrong. Here's Terry Pluto. His subcaption.
Oh God. Oh God. Oh God. Oh God.
Yeah. Give the coaches credit for the Browns offense coming alive. Now, you know who's paying his salary. Yeah. Well, but why weren't they doing it since the beginning of the season? I mean, what kind of a fucking take is that? Give the coaches credit. Why don't we give the players credit for playing hard? Why don't we give the whole group of them credit? Why do we have to be so fucking myopic? What is I can't admit I'm wrong. You sure can't, Terry, because you masturbated in front of God, and you're just guilty.
Wow.
Your beliefs, Terry, your fucking beliefs, or whoever is signing your paycheck, whichever way it goes. And I continue by, this whole, and this headline, it's unreal. Myles Garrett makes up ground in the NFL Defensive Player of the Year race.
Who
goes
cares?
for this?
Yeah, who cares?
I want to see 17 games out of Myles Garrett so that he'll win the award and that we'll win and we'll go to the Super Bowl. Okay?
Yeah.
Well, I don't care how it goes week by week. You know what that's like? That's like dissecting Aesop's fable with the tortoise and the hare.
Yeah.
The only thing that anyone remembers is that the fucking tortoise won.
He won. Yeah.
That's all. I mean, to sit there and say, well, at the 1/8 mile mark, the hare was way ahead. Who looks at things that way? It's stupid. And I just shake my big cow head and I say, that is really fucked up. And the people who were bad-mouthing Watson will not admit that he played a really good game. And the people who got all over the case of the team, won't come out and say, oh, they did a great job and they played a 4-quarter game and they never let up. They're only interested in these myopic things. Christopher Milton is asking me, how do they blow that call on Cooper? Well, because the officials are blowing more than their whistles, Christopher.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, they are the slaves of the NFL, and it's unbelievable how fast media jumps all over people. It's just there is no explanation except what I've already told you. There's too much money on the line, and somebody is definitely making out. That's what I would tell you with this. Yeah. And Lou Holtz,
Lou Holtz.
Like we need him as an unbiased voice before a game is played on who he thinks is a better football team, his former employer or Ohio State.
Or that fucking idiot that puts the mascot heads on, Lee Corso or whatever. He needs to go away. They all need to go away. All these.
I mean, Notre Dame has its own network broadcast now, don't they?
I know.
So what are they going to say? They're going to say, I think they're going to lose on the last play of the game because their head coach is going to fuck up and put 10 men on the field the last 2 plays of the game. Yeah. They're not going to say that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
Todd Blackledge at the end of the game looked like somebody had taken his lunch money and he was hungry. It was hilarious.
Hey, that's where America goes for seafood, R. Jones. They're at Red Lobster. Hi, Kathy. Yep. Get the never-ending shrimp. That's, I don't know if they're doing it in your neck of the woods where you're at. I don't even know where you're at, R. Jones, but just a couple of weeks ago, we went to Red Lobster, and I didn't eat that, but for $20, they'll just keep shoveling the shrimp at you.
Wow.
That's pretty good deal. And you get the cheese biscuits with it too.
Damn.
Yeah.
America. What a great country.
America. All right. So,
wow.
So the whole point of this program is
there's a point.
Yeah, there really is. Is that
okay? I'll take your word for it.
It's the great picture. It's the body of work, and we can be happy from week to week or upset from week to week if we see a trend heading in the wrong direction. If we screw up, I was very distraught that we lost to a Steeler team that I really feel that we're better than.
Yeah.
But then again, I mean, the Steelers won their game. We have a three-way tie.
We're in third place. Do people realize that we are in third place because of the conference record and the division record?
Yeah, but we may be 1 week away from being in first place. I mean, again, this is a body of work. If we have teams coming into our stadium and, we played lousy on the road. We've been playing really well at home. And We have to get stronger on the road and more consistent from week to week. And I'm hoping it's not a matter of belief. Deshaun Watson had the kind of game that we thought that he would have when we put our money on the table and when we welcomed him to Cleveland. And that is his job, and that's what he does. And I thought that he played an outstanding football game. And if he were a stock, it would be heading in the right direction. But that doesn't mean anything. He's playing the Ravens next week. So, and that is going to be a different type of challenge altogether, all over again. And again, I'm not going to presume anything. Jim, we lost to Pittsburgh, and you can say, well, the officials had something to do with it, yada, yada, yada. But the bottom line is that we just didn't play well enough and make the plays. We left too much on the field. When we gave up, too many turnovers, and that's what kind of happens. And officials make bad calls. The Amari Cooper call was the worst bad call that I can remember with all the ones I've complained about through the years. That one is the hardest to swallow because it wasn't even close. And I just believe that guy is being paid by illicit sources to make that play go away. And he successfully did it. And I thought it was just so funny that after the game, Stefanski received an apology. Can you believe that?
Yeah, they do that. Yeah, they do that now. NBA does that too, don't they? And referees
fucking apologize. I mean, what kind of nonsense is that?
How much is that worth? It's worth less than £2, I think. So yeah, it sucks. You know what's funny? We got rid of Cade York, and we brought in this kicker that probably nobody has ever heard of. Why is the media piling on pressure on this bloke like they did on Cade York? They seem to be leaving him alone. That's because he's just a normal guy, and he's gone out and they traded for a 7th round pick, and he's kicking it. So all that pressure that the media yanked on Cade York, they're not putting on this new guy. And he's kicking fine. He missed one kick in the Pittsburgh game, which may or may not affected the outcome. So, the media's fucked up, basically. Maria says hi from Arthur Treachers.
Oh, God. Yeah.
And Kevin at Wendy's also says hello.
Good. Hi, Kevin from Wendy's. Yeah. Here's another thing that I want to point out, because again, it's a body of work. We focus in on the most recent thing, and I don't want to forget about other things. So I'm going to read this to you.
Okay.
Las Vegas Raiders quarterback Jimmy Garoppolo is in the NFL's concussion protocol after taking several hits in Sunday night's loss to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Oh, no.
Now, wait. Raiders coach Josh McDaniels said he was not sure when Garoppolo suffered the concussion and had yet to talk to the quarterback. While Garoppolo never left the game because of a head injury, he did take a hit to the helmet from Steelers safety Minkah Fitzpatrick that ended with Garoppolo's head bouncing off the grass with less than 7 minutes to play. So I just want to point out, this guy is not what he says he is, and his body of work is building. Yes. I don't care about the Raiders. I'm not a Raiders fan. I don't like to see anybody get concussed.
No.
But the bottom line is that was his follow-up performance. And with 7 minutes to play, the game hung in the balance.
Yeah, I don't know anything about this game because it was late at night and I wasn't interested. So what happened? I take it Steelers won.
Of course, yeah. But we'll get into the horrific coaching that we saw this weekend in the NFL. But again, people make it sound like, oh, Browns fans are always whining. They're always whining. And it's like, but if I can trace a player who keeps doing this and keeps getting away with it and is rewarded, while our guys are fined for making little gestures. Yeah,
it's hilarious.
So they're just allowed to do whatever the hell they're allowed to do, and that's it. And it's so, Terry Pluto, an inside look at how the Browns got Deshaun Watson headed in the right direction. Oh, please. The body of work on Deshaun Watson is that he averaged completions of like 70%.
Correct.
And that he threw for 5,000 yards and that he was throwing far more touchdowns than interceptions, 33-7 to be exact, in his last year in Houston. And we're supposed to be thinking that it was the Browns that got him headed in the right direction.
If anything, they were stopping him from going in the right direction, and he put a stop to that.
Well, I mean, that's what it boils down to now, doesn't it? I mean, they weren't throwing the ball for him. I mean, they weren't selecting the receivers he threw to. It's just insulting. The whole thing is just really, really insulting.
Yeah, and your comment about body of work, it's like those mutual fund adverts that I don't know whether they still do them in America, where they have a little small disclaimer at the bottom that says your funds can go up or down. It's only based on previous performance, and that's what life is all about. Body of work. You can extrapolate that into the future, but it doesn't always work. So people who gamble or people who do whatever they want to do, prognostications and shit, predicting the future, you're looking at the past, trying to predict the future. It doesn't always work that way.
Yeah. And again, and here Amsterdam is bringing it up. I don't think anybody, I mean, Colorado was a 21-point underdog going into the game at Oregon. All right.
Yeah.
And again, body of work. I don't like Deion Sanders so well because he's a self-promoter and a shameful self-promoter. He left an all-black university basically so that he could build his name up by doing well in a lesser conference. Then he took a job in Colorado. And, he ain't going to stay in Colorado either. No. If he can have a really great season in Colorado, he may ride out that class of players and then be gone. He's going to go to a bigger program.
Yeah, he wants to be in the SEC somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, it's obvious what he's up to. But, again, this week-to-week thing, I look at Colorado. I watched the CSU game. CSU is not that good a football team. All right.
Yeah.
And it took everything that Colorado had to win that football game. And
it did.
I look at this and I say, all right, Colorado's 3-1. Last year they were 1-11. Deion's doing a good job. But within reason, I mean, just because the press built up this fairy tale story, I mean, it isn't that they turned into a pumpkin. They played a team that was just flat out better than they were.
A lot better.
But why wouldn't they be? They have a fifth-year quarterback in Bo Nix. Why wouldn't they be better? Yeah. And the fact that they put Colorado 19th in the country when Oregon's 10th made it look like this was going to be a competitive game, but the betting line was 21-point underdog for Colorado, and of course it turned out worse than that. And after the game, Deion said it was just an old-fashioned butt whipping, and that's what you had.
Yeah, good for you, yeah.
But again, the press starts these narratives and it gets way out of line week by week by week. So now the pendulum swings. If Colorado Buffaloes go out and they lose to a lesser team, then it's going to be, oh, was this just a mirage? And all of this shit
Yeah, it's
will
just
start all over again.
yeah, it's the curse of the 24-hour sports programs who have nothing to talk about. Sports should only be talked about 15 minutes a day because that's
Well,
all there is to talk about.
it's one of the reasons why I used to do a podcast every day, and it was like
Yeah,
this
I
was
know. I
getting
was there. Yeah,
but it ended up being more
goofy.
right. It was just off the wall more than it was anything else. And
Yeah.
I prefer this way. I do it after the Browns game, before the Browns game,
Yeah.
during the Browns game.
During the Browns game.
Yeah, and so everything's fresh as opposed to something that I have to scrape through news to find goofy stories, about QAnon people thinking that JFK Jr. is not really dead. Again, the thing that I liked most about the football game, I like a 27-3 win.
Oh, I prefer that to a close win anytime.
Yeah, as good as the guy next to me. I like that. But what it tells me is the Browns played 4 quarters.
Correct.
The Browns defense never let up. And it became and they literally teased the Titans that one play by moving Myles Garrett from side to side, and you were seeing 2 men following him, and that resulted in the timeout. That's the kind of thing that it's like, all right, we're going to show the world what you were doing. You were double teaming him wherever he went, and he still had 3.5 sacks. You couldn't stop him.
Yeah, their O-line was absolute poo, though. I expect the Raiders or Ravens or Ratbirds, whoever they are, to have a better offensive line than Tennessee did.
Yeah, the guy who was talking from the Titans defense was an offensive lineman that used to play for us, and he was a source of constant irritation. And I don't remember his name now. What was his name? Somebody in the chat room, look at who is playing the guard or tackle.
God.
If you look at their roster, you'll find him. And he was the one who was making all the comments. It's like, oh, don't lecture.
It's
please.
Like Dylan something, or I don't know.
No, this was a guy who we got, I think, from the Giants, I want to say. And he played for us for a couple of years, and he was awful. He just couldn't get it done. And he got beat bad.
Oh, what? Chris Hubbard.
Chris Hubbard. That's right.
Yeah, Chris Hubbard.
And these names, they come back because, again, it's a body of work. You can't consistently be on a weak defensive line without you being a weak defensive lineman. That's the way it works. Yeah. Somebody remembers. Yeah, that's right, Farrell. Joe Turkey Jones putting Terry Bradshaw on his head. That's why, to this day, Bradshaw is brain damaged.
Yeah, that's why he keeps trying to give away his money all the time.
Yeah. And thank you, David. Yeah, that's right. Thank you. I can't keep everything in my head these days like I used to. Take it easy, Keith C. Enjoy your day and night at work.
Yeah.
I'd rather be at Red Lobster than going to work. But
you know what worries me, though? I mean, Stefanski and this team, Stefanski's body of work. When have we won 2 games in a row? We have these roller coaster seasons where we have the victory Monday and go, "Way, woohoo, all of our problems are solved." And then we come out the next week and get our fucking ass kicked. I mean, there was very few times in the past 3 seasons that we've won a couple of games in a row, put a run on. And that's what we have to do. We have to go out and beat down the Ravens so that we get some division wins at home. Those are so important.
Well, again, I don't think that the past is a prologue to what's
Correct.
going to happen.
That's just body
I
of
take
work,
this
though.
every year is somewhat different, and our circumstance is our defense has played well for 3 successive games.
Absolutely.
And
They
that might
deserve
be
to be
a
3-0.
rarity in my time doing podcasts that not just good, but really, really good defense 3 weeks in a row.
That hasn't happened since the 60s.
Yeah,
That hasn't happened since we were children,
So again, I don't want to say that because of what happened back when, this is what I'm afraid is going to happen. I let it play out. I'm just going to say, hey, whatever it is, and we have an opportunity. We had an opportunity against Pittsburgh. We let it slip through our hands. The Ravens had an easy opportunity against the Colts and let it slip through their wings. And that's what happens.
Yep. They didn't take them seriously enough. It looked pretty obvious from the bits of the game I saw that the Ravens, weren't playing at full speed.
Should we say what Rocky Balboa said?
What did Rocky say?
Let me get into character here. You gotta get that sniff in. I don't know what the it's not how many times you get knocked out, it's how many times you get up. Correct. That's how winning's done.
Yeah.
And realistically, everyone has a bad game. The question is, do they feel sorry for themselves and then have 2 more, or like the Bears are doing, or do they rise above that sentiment and,
Yeah, it's called character. Do we have character? Do we know that the Browns have character? We're going to find out this week.
Yeah, Mick cut me. He just stabbed me right in the ribs. I don't think that was very funny, Yeah, I just the other day I caught, the salient moments of the movie Rocky Balboa. Fighting Antonio Tarver, right? And that was I always said it's like he should just say the you have the vowels, hey, yeah, yeah.
So do I have to say I'm wrong because I'm being pointed out that they've had 4 2-game winning streaks under Stefanski? What does that even mean? Does that mean I have to apologize now?
No, I mean, but we have 2020 hindsight, knowing how things ended up.
Yeah.
We don't know how things are going to end up here. What I do know is that we finally have a defensive coordinator who is preaching aggressive defense for the first time with these players and some new players that we brought on board, and it's working very well. Will teams make adjustments? That's what the season's about.
Yes.
That's what the season's about. And it's how you react to those adjustments. And, and here's another thing, this whole analytics thing about numbers, PFF numbers,
Oh, God.
It's like, if you look at the defensive work of the Browns, Myles Garrett rated in 36 snaps a 93.3. Alex Wright a 90.5 in 16 snaps. Zadarius Smith a 70.7. And Agbo Okoronkwo a 66.2 in 27 snaps. All right. Maurice Hurst, defensive tackle, an 89.6.
Yeah, he was good.
20 snaps. That's all we need to do it, and he's rubbing his belly. And then the rest of them, Shelby Harris played 19 snaps with a 64 rating. Jordan Elliott a 57.2 and 15 snaps. Dalvin Tomlinson a 37 and 25 snaps. Now, the eye test always tells me who's looking good. Koromoa had an 87.1. Anthony Walker, who really was spying into the backfield to stop Derrick Henry, an 84.9 and 36 snaps. Taki a 62.1 and 27 snaps. So,
and he scored a touchdown too.
Yeah, what a graphic! A great moment for CBS. Now, when you look at the offensive side of the ball, I mean, I think we would all agree that the Browns played a really good offensive game.
It was decent. Yeah, it was
I mean,
decent.
they were going up against a team that over the course of their last 17 games averaged giving up 2.9 yards per carry, and we were without our best running back. All right.
Yeah.
And we were playing with a guy who just walked into camp, right?
Yeah.
Walked into the building without any preseason whatsoever.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm not going to sit there and judge the running game per se. But listen to these numbers. Deshaun Watson at a 74.6 rating. This is PFF. This is a PFF number. Right.
Not quarterback rating, but PFF rating.
Right. Pierre Strong, a 76.1 in 8 plays. Kareem Hunt, a 72.3 in 14 plays. Jerome Ford, a 57.3 in 40. But here's where the stuff really goes kind of lopsided. Amari Cooper, a 72.3 in 57 snaps. Donovan Peoples-Jones, a 64. Elijah Moore, a 58.7. Cedric Tillman, a 58.3. David Bell, a 57.3. And Marquise Goodwin, a 51.6. Now, Harrison Bryant, a 75.1. That's because he ran the ball a couple times, right?
Yeah.
Jordan Akins, a 49.6. Njoku with a 47.2 in 52 snaps. Our offensive line graded out not very well. DeJuan Jones was number 1, believe it or not, 65.3. Pokic had a 64.3. Michael Dunn with a 59. Then Nick Harris with a 58. Then Joel Bitonio in 71 snaps, 58.4.
Yeah, he's getting beat like a drum. And Jed Wills.
Jed Wills, 71 snaps, 56.9. Wyatt Teller down to a 54.8 in 71 snaps. Now, here's the thing that really made me kind of scratch my head. The Titans' best 5 defensive grades were Sean Murphy Bunting, who had a 91.3 in 61 snaps, Kevin Byard with a 72.2, Jack Gibbons with a 72.1, Tierre Tart with a 71.6, and Elijah Molden. And that's the best defensive grades for them. But going back to the offense, this is where I really wonder about all of this. The Titans' 5 best offensive grades.
Are they going to be higher than the Browns?
Chris Moore, 76.3.
Oh, fucking hell.
DeAndre Hopkins, 72.7. Ryan Tannehill, 70.6. Wow. Derrick Henry, 62. Aaron Brewer, 60.9. What game would you think you were watching? Well, I mean, again, these statistics are just, it doesn't tell the story,
No.
Yeah. And there's Ken. Hi, Ken. The running game did not seem as bad as the stats showed. It got us through.
Yeah.
And,
we got first downs and kept the ball. And the Titans, how many times did Bjorkes punt? Maybe 3 times?
It's right. If you control the clock like we did, 38 to 22, that's the way it gets done. That's how winning's done.
Exactly. Yeah. We're doing what teams did to us last year. We're keeping the ball away from them. Like last year, we were the fuckers that only had the ball for 20 minutes. Now it's the other team that only has the ball for 20 minutes.
Yeah, and it does. It makes a big, big difference.
Yeah, because we're fresher. Then we're fresher. We play better. Everyone plays better when, the defense is off the field.
Do you know that after, Kevin Stefanski spoke and Deshaun Watson spoke in the press conference after the game, they were just the press was like, what about that backwards pass? And Stefanski said, we actually work on that play. And
there you go. Yeah, he's got more for a reason. Yeah.
And then Deshaun Watson, they asked him about it. He goes, yeah, we kind of, worked on that, that's why he was behind
Yeah,
but
he has to be back there.
But then what he said, but it kind of didn't work out, and he started laughing, and the room started laughing. I think everybody knows that it was a bad decision.
Yeah.
Everybody knows that. I don't know why they're going to rub his nose in dog shit when he won the game and he completed 88% of his passes. But you see, the people who can't admit they're wrong have to get their little lick in.
Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate part of this. But I think this is a good example. Before they went up at the lectern to take their turn, I think that Kevin Stefanski and Deshaun Watson had what I call a kumbaya moment. Someone crying, Lord, kumbaya. Oh, Lord, kumbaya. Yeah, and I think they just decided, you're going to get hammered about that play. I'm just going to say that it was in the playbook, and, and that way it just shuts them the fuck up,
Correct. And you know what? It's about time they both started looking after each other's back, and that's what a team is all about.
That's right.
You have your coaches, you have your players' backs. You fucking take shit together, or you just fucking wilt away like we usually do.
The body of work, Radu, on Joe Shipley is that he's a coward. He's a coward. He gets mouthy, and he'll start getting mouthy just before the Ravens game, and if they win, he'll be around really mouthing off, right?
He'll definitely be here if they happen to win, yes.
Yeah, that's his body of work, but now he's invisible. So it's a lack of personal character. Everybody, what is it? I don't gamble on these games, and it's a damn good thing because you see, with my prediction was I'd be out a lot of money. So,
nobody should gamble.
The only thing, Jason, if being against us is the way that they get more revenue and they can get more people signing up for their little service or whatever,
you got it.
That's what it's all about to them, and they don't care who they hurt in the process.
Yeah,
and that's the horrible truth of it.
That is the truth.
So
how's their Bengals sister site getting on? They still doing that, doing Bengals?
Oh, you don't hear shit since Joe Burrow has just come up lame this year. No, you don't hear any of that shit no more.
Cleveland.com's not doing Bengals news now, huh?
No,
they've given up. They've given up on that, like they were doing last year. Huh?
They got a moron for a coach.
They do.
They're going to have a bad year. And I'm not hateful about the Bengals. Here's what I will tell you. But here's what I'll tell you. We have trouble against the Steelers because Steelers are very physical. But we have far less trouble with the Bengals, who we keep beating because they're not physical. They're skilled. The Bengals are a skilled football team, although I think
they're a finesse team.
I just don't think their running game has enough right now to be able to really make Burrow as good as he could be. But again, I have no dislike for the Cincinnati Bengals, but they're the softest team in the conference right now.
Yeah.
Or excuse me, in the division. They're the softest of the four. They're the softest. And the Browns have to prove against the Ravens in our building that we can push them around the way that we pushed around Cincinnati in our building, the way we pushed around a team that considers itself tough, the Tennessee Titans, because they're playing for a tough guy coach as well. So, again, it's being physical, having a swag or an attitude, is something that we've needed for a long time. And an identity where our defense is going to go out, we're going to fly at people, and we're moving fast. And that's what all the Titans said after the game, is that the Browns defense really was flying fast. And that's not something that we're used to saying or seeing. So
ever.
That's a great thing to hear.
They really did, to me, look like the 85, 86 Bears,
In this stretch, yes. I mean, here's the headline. Do the Browns have the NFL's best defense? And it's like, oh, come on.
It's way too early for that shit.
Not only is it too early for that shit, it's that the Browns have the best defense effort-wise and results-wise for 3 successive games than we've seen for a long time.
Long time. Very long time.
As far as the best, you don't need to be the best this, the best that.
No,
but
you just need to win.
That's the deal. And I think that our defense right now is capable of putting out an effort that could really be difficult for a lot of teams. And we have a lot of guys who are being utilized correctly right now. And you can see it with Delpit and Koromoa. And, now Myles Garrett is suddenly looking like the player that Myles Garrett
hoped he would be. Yeah,
that's right. And believed he was, but we were seeing a good number at the end of the year, 16, 17 or 18 sacks or whatever.
But
we
it was
were
kind
seeing
of meaningless.
Yeah, but somehow
anything.
There's urgency this year. He's making the plays now at times when we need him to make those plays.
Yeah.
And so that's great to see. I don't care if we have the best defense or the best offense or the best quarterback. What I care about is the results from week to week. It's the body of work. That's what matters to me. So, coming up next are the Ravens. We know who they are.
Well,
yeah, we know exactly who they are, and we know how they win. They've been hit hard with injuries. Odell Beckham and Ronnie Stanley and Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Williams, they all did not play. And again, this is not to make excuses, but during the game, outside linebacker David Ojabo and running back Gus Edwards, who's their frontline running back, both left the game with injuries and did not return.
Ojabo's a damn good player. He was a killer at Michigan. He's a great player.
Ravens head coach John Harbaugh said that all 7 players could return within a few weeks, but you could bet some of them will be back for the Browns.
Absolutely.
But again, it is what they are and what they aren't. Mark Andrews is the number 1 target for Lamar Jackson. He's got a comfort level with him. They have a rookie named Zay Flowers from Boston College, and he's been good. He's caught 21 passes for 188 yards this year. He hasn't scored a touchdown yet, but that's because they have no real good red zone offense except for Lamar Jackson's feet and legs.
Running around, yeah.
Right. And Flowers is a guy who can get downfield and they can strike quickly if Lamar Jackson puts it on the money, which he doesn't always do in a deep throw. But to face a guy like Lamar Jackson is going to be difficult because the Browns, it isn't that you're going to sack him. You have to contain him to make sure that he doesn't get through those little creases, seams, or around the end. And it's really hard to do. The only thing you can hope for is that he'll be forced to run the ball so much that his body will get broken over time. And that's what has happened to him to some degree.
Yeah.
And, then there's Kyle Hamilton. He is a big guy. He's considering as a safety, 6'4", 220 pounds.
Wow, that is big for a safety.
And very physical. So he's playing with the right group of people. So what we're looking at is the possibility, if you're not careful, if you don't stick with your man, the secondary has to not be peeking into the backfield at Lamar Jackson. That's how he makes the big play downfield, is that he gets to running toward the line of scrimmage, and then all of a sudden he can let go a pass, half a yard or a yard behind the line of scrimmage. And if somebody's taking their eyes off their man, you saw what happened twice
Oh
to the
God, yeah.
Titans. Yeah. I mean, somebody will get behind you in a big furry hurry. And that's, you really got to force Lamar Jackson to stay in the pocket and to throw the ball down the field and take your chances with your good secondary and put pressure, get into his passing lanes, get into his vision, but not to go looping around wide to pressure him so that the middle opens up like the Red Sea. You can't do that.
Yeah. Totally agree.
Jason,
I mean, the good news that I would say about us having the early bye week, I don't know whether anybody has pointed this out yet, but you know what the Ravens have to do in week 5? They have to go to Pittsburgh. So one of those two teams is going to lose.
That's right.
That makes this game even more important. We have to win. We would be 3-1. We would force the Ratbirds to be 2-2, and then Pittsburgh, whether they're 3-1 or 2-2, whatever, they clash against the Ravens while we're off. So one of those teams will drop automatically below us. That's such a big thing.
Jason Arrington, we drafted Cedric Tillman, and he has played a few downs here and there. Donovan Peoples-Jones is most likely not going to be with the Browns next year. I would not be surprised if Cedric Tillman plays more as the season progresses. He's wet behind the ears. There's things he has to learn, a system he has to learn. And I think they're going to feed him into that system early, and slowly and surely, and then we'll see what happens. But I don't see DPJ remaining in Cleveland. I don't see that happening.
I don't see Goodwin playing next year either. So we're going to have more on Tillman and.
Well, I'll tell you, I can see Tillman just bypassing Goodwin altogether, because Goodwin looks like the opposite of a Swiss Army knife. He's a one-trick pony, and he isn't a guy who's going to get you anything in traffic, make the big catch. It's not like Amari Cooper, who's going to give you that great sideline pattern, keep his feet in, and
keep his feet in bounds. Yes, absolutely.
And if you give up on him, he can get behind you. He's sneaky, and that's that. I mean, Goodwin is just a straight line burner. He's kind of
Schwartz-esque almost.
That's what I was gonna say. But Anthony Schwartz, but he's caught more balls.
He's got more balls than Schwartz.
I think a lot of us want to get a look at Tillman, but I have to believe that maybe he's just not ready yet. We'll see. I'd like to see some chemistry between a young receiver and Deshaun Watson. That would be a nice thing. The Browns only punted the ball 3 times the whole game, as Brian pointed out. Yep, and that's huge. They sacked Tannehill 5 times.
You don't have to get turnovers if you only punt the ball 3 times. We didn't get any turnovers, did we? We gave one up that led to 3 points.
And that's the thing. If you keep working at it and you keep flying around the field, things eventually will come.
They're going to come into your hand. It's like chasing after a bird, or the bird lands on your hand instead. If you're just calm and still and cool about it.
I watched TJ Watt do it again and rip a ball out. It's he is just really, really good.
Yeah.
And I don't care what team he plays for. That guy is a fantastic football player, and he beats people around the corner and bends so low to the ground. But it isn't just that he gets there; it's that he does something when he gets there.
He's destructive.
Disruptive and destructive. Absolutely. So
no, I don't have a good feeling about this game coming up. I think it's I'm nervous, so I don't know how to predict it, and I probably won't know how to predict it on Friday. So,
and I would say that Jerome Ford wasn't a great game for Ford, but he did have 33 yards receiving and
touchdown.
And the touchdown. That's right.
He actually
That
did have a touchdown, unlike Taki.
right,
Yeah,
right.
that was a play, I think.
In the in the third quarter, he rushed for 3 yards into the end zone. So Ford did what he was supposed to do, and against a team that just doesn't give up a lot of ground yardage. So let's see if the Browns' running game can get acclimated to somebody besides Chubb being back there. Chubb has such amazing vision. He's
Yeah.
like a chess master who sees like 6
5
moves in
moves ahead,
advance.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
really an extraordinary talent that way.
Well, I'm glad Radu is feeling good about at-home win. That's alright. I wanna see more people feeling good, then maybe I'll start feeling good.
Yeah, I think that we played a really good game, and I think we 2 out of 3 games we played a really good game. So
Yeah,
if you keep winning 2 out of 3 games, you're going to be in the playoffs. You know
correct.
that
That's how it
you know
works.
it's just, but
That
you're
simple.
getting all these front loaded home games, and you're going to be on the road for a long time.
Oh, and you know what? If we beat the Ravens and then we have the bye week, you know what? Our game at home against the 49ers will be the national 1 p.m. game if they don't even move it. You can imagine like Nance and Aikman or some other, top geezer will be doing that game. If we go rock into that 3-1 against the 49ers.
And it doesn't get much better for Ohio State fans seeing the team beat Notre Dame and then watching the Browns turn around and destroy the Titans, and then seeing C.J. Stroud have such a big game and really getting off to a really good start this year with a team that nobody really thinks highly of, the Houston Texans, but he was 20 for 30 for 280 yards, and they upset Jacksonville.
Well, you know what? Don't sleep on the Texans because they got all these draft picks from somewhere, and maybe they're having good drafts. So, they might be a 500 team this year. People say they're going to be shit. Well, I think the Bengals might finish with a worse record than the Texans.
Now,
Uh,
he's the first quarterback in NFL history to have at least 900 passing yards, 4 pass touchdowns, and 0 picks in his first 3 career starts. And that's a
yeah.
good start to get off to. And, whether this continues on, hard to say. I will say this about the Steelers, about Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett looked better in his last game than he did against us in the first, and also the
Yeah.
horrible first week they had. You kind of see it as week by week body of work. Same thing holds true with coaches, and there were some incredibly bad coaching decisions that were
Oh,
made
yeah.
that
Go for it.
not
Oh,
as
there were some stinkers.
and not associated with the Cleveland Browns,
Yeah.
fortunately. Josh McDaniels, this is really hard to
Go for
figure. Basically trailing by 8 and on a 4th and 4 at the Steelers' 8-yard line, he decides to kick the goddamn field goal.
it. Yeah.
All right. They had already kicked the field goal about a minute earlier, and but there was a penalty on the Steelers, which moved the ball closer, first down. They got all the way down to the 8-yard line, and rather than trying to get the touch and then get the 2 points, and then how the coach justifies it. You have 2 choices there, McDaniel said. You try to make it a 5-point game with the field goal, where you have an opportunity to win it with the touchdown if you get the ball back, or you try to go for it there. And then if you happen to convert, you've got to make that 2-point conversion, Basically, 16% analytics chance the Raiders' win probability would have been had they gone for it versus 10% by kicking the field goal. So it was a bad statistical decision, but it also is an
Look bad.
incredibly bad message to send to your offensive unit with the game
Yeah.
on the line. The Steelers ended up starting at their own 25-yard line, got a first down. By the time Las Vegas got the ball back, 12 seconds left on the clock, that was the end of it. A bad coaching decision. This is, and he was trying to defend himself. How close was McDaniels to going for it on 4th and 4? I don't know. This is his quote. I don't know. I mean, we kicked one earlier in that sequence, and then we're fortunate enough to get a penalty on that field goal. Then we got down there. I mean, it is what it is. Like I said, you could either go either way with it, and I did have confidence we were playing well enough defensively, and bad decision.
You know what he could have done that would have been better than what he did do was not take that penalty. Just leave the points on the board, and then you have that extra time that you waste going down the field, and then that would have been a better choice.
Well, I mean, the thing is, Garoppolo himself did not comment because he was not made available to the media because of Minkah Fitzpatrick, right?
Yeah, he's got CTE now. So
I mean, it's just he threw 3 interceptions, and that's Josh McDaniels' way of saying I don't have faith in Garoppolo and I don't have faith in our offense. It's just a bad situation, but not nearly as bad as poor Tony the Calf's Vikings. I can't begin to tell you. This has to be.
I'll mute my mic. I'll just laugh through this whole thing.
I know. You want to talk about a clusterfuck here. The Vikings had just converted a 4th down to the Chargers' 6-yard line with 35 seconds remaining in the game, but they had no timeouts. Instead of spiking the ball to stop the clock, which would be the first thing you would be screaming in front of your television, spike it. They attempted to line up and quick snap the Chargers, hoping to score the winning touchdown before the defense was fully set. But there was one problem. The idiot fans in Minnesota were so loud that Kirk Cousins could not hear his coach's play call. Both Cousins and Coach O'Connell said afterward, a full 23 seconds ran off the clock as Cousins desperately tried to hear his coach and eventually just decided to call a play on his own. And of course, that ended up being an intercepted pass to the end zone. All right. Here's what Kirk Cousins said, and this will tell you everything you need to know about Kevin Stefanski. Okay? And I want people to listen to this because there is a broader meaning to some of these things. Just couldn't hear him with the noise, Cousins said. Just ended up calling a play. And the play I called was the same play he was trying to get to. All right. The fact is, 66,000, almost 67,000 fans in the stands were so excited after the 4th down conversion. Many could actually be heard encouraging the Vikings to just spike the fucking ball, maximize the number of plays they got from the 6-yard line. Sometimes that happens, O'Connell said of the home crowd fan noise. It's not always noticed when we're in a normal 2-minute mode. O'Connell made clear he didn't think that the ticking clock impacted the execution of the play. But I mean, but spiking the ball was the only thing you were supposed to do.
Wow.
Yeah. But this is what I'm talking about. Kirk Cousins and Kevin Stefanski.
Okay.
In theory, Cousins said, he could have decided to spike the ball on his own, but he said he tries not to make a habit of making such unilateral decisions during games. Well, buddy, that's your fucking job.
Yeah, sometimes you got to do it, you know.
I mean, the fact is, but if you've been trained not to audibilize, you don't know when the right time is. And he didn't. He didn't know when the right time was. He went on to say, I mean, I could do anything I want. I can do the quarterback sneak. I can do whatever I want. I can do the horizontal mambo. But at the same time, you also have to deal with the consequences. Against Buffalo last year, I snuck it on my own and didn't get in. So until you know the future, it's hard to know whether to take the reins or not. But I've done it before. I mean, this is a veteran quarterback. It's to be unbelievable. Unbelievable. You don't spike the ball, and the quarterback is afraid, so he freezes for 23 seconds.
Wow.
Just crazy.
You know how old Kirk Cousins is?
35?
He is 35 years old.
That sounds about right. Hoo-ah. Christopher Milton saying, don't leave, Moo. I need to know if the Browns do not have a chance, then I will give up. I'm not a quitter, but I don't like losing. I can't stand losing. I can't. Yeah. You think I know if the Browns have a chance or not? What I'll tell you is I like our odds a lot better. If we can win this weekend and be 3-1 going into the bye week, I will be feeling pretty good about this team. And I feel pretty good about the team now. I feel bad that we just didn't get it done in Pittsburgh. We should have been, we should be 3-0. But, crying over spilt milk doesn't get anything done. But if you're that much on the fence, Christopher, if it bothers you that much, maybe you should stop watching.
Not watch.
Yeah.
Don't watch the games, man.
Chill pill,
or watch them on replay, man. Watch them the next day or something somehow. Wow.
And what he's saying is if it's against all odds, the officiating is that bad.
What's the point?
Well, and, again, the point is that we derive some joy out of watching.
It's entertainment. It's fucking what it is. It's entertainment.
Right. Even watching an ugly stripper is watching a stripper. What can I
It's
tell?
Entertainment.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, is it nearly time for Dick Goddard?
Yeah.
Peter Alice. Is there a Peter Alice play the game?
A Peter Alice play of the Browns game?
Yeah, Browns game, yeah.
What would I say would be the okay, yeah. Derrick Henry, you look like a rear-wheel drive vehicle in a steep uphill climb. You couldn't get going. Oh, it looked like your feet were in clay. And that's what it really looked like. They never let him get off the dime. But a lot of fans will say, well, he doesn't have the burst that he used to. He's almost 30 years old, Somebody's asked me a boxing question. Why, thank you. I know you're quite the boxing guru. I was wondering about your thoughts on the Canelo versus Charlo fight. The thing is, he was supposed to fight the other Charlo, and then he's fighting his twin brother instead. I don't know what's up with that, but the Charlo he's fighting is recognized as not being as good as the one he's not fighting. Canelo is, it's a funny thing. He resculpted his body in remarkable ways, and that's all I'm going to say about Canelo Alvarez. He's fought at a lot of different weights, and he's really muscled up. He's had a really good career. For a small stretch, he stopped being that good a fighter, and he's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of like, who is the pitcher, Bronk? The 40 Clemens.
Roger Clemens.
Yeah, who regained his fastball.
Somehow.
Yeah, everybody thinks that Canelo is going to easily beat the lesser Charlo in order to set up a fight against his brother as a grudge match. That's what the feeling is inside the game. So all the money is going to be thrown at Canelo here. And that way, it was a lot like the Klitschko's. You had Vlad, and
Klitschko.
and so if Chris Bird beat you, then the other Klitschko is going to come at you and kill you, you know? It's I think Canelo wins the fight and it sets up the next one because that's the way it always works in the fight game. Nirvana fan, I think we can coochie. I think we can beat the Ravens this Sunday, not being a homer or anything, but despite we have I dare I say elite.
Dare I say.
Yeah, elite defense. Go Browns. Yeah, I think that we have the makings of an elite defense. I think we have some players and they're being turned loose and they understand where they're supposed to be and what they're supposed to be doing. And that's a huge part of this is people all being on the same page and players understanding that we're moving Myles Garrett around because he is the best pass rusher and we're going to give him every chance to get into a position where he can damage. And if they're going to send 2 men after him wherever he goes, that's where interior guys like Maurice Hurst get their job done. Or on the other side, that Zadarius Smith gets his job done.
Yeah.
So it's all very, very healthy.
And how nice it was to see the other team's secondary break down and one of our receivers run free and get
twice
a touchdown. Yeah.
Yeah. And I can't leave without saying that the biggest coaching gaffe is having 10 men on the field 2 plays in a row with the game in the balance on national television when Lou Holtz said, so that's the only impression I do of Lou Holtz. Oh, fucker. Matt Ryan, he says, I have no interest in leaving my analyst job to be the Jets quarterback.
Oh God,
you got that right, Bucky. They're still going to stay with Zach Smith. They're going to stay with him. They got nowhere else to go, and it's a bad time to be a New York Jets fan. And unfortunately, Mike Williams, a prolific wide receiver, had a season-ending torn ACL. That in the game that they won against the Vikings, that strange game. But, again, Mike Williams has been a really great receiver for that team.
Be in the Hall of Fame at some point.
But players going down, it's just part of the game. And, it could hit us. Myles Garrett could go down as easily as Nick Chubb did. If somebody wants him out of there and they decide they're going to take him out, that's what happens. And we have our chance to get our redemption against the Steelers at home later in the season. So I would make sure beyond any question that Minkah Fitzpatrick gets whooped on. I would make sure that if I were the Cleveland Browns, and I know Jim Schwartz doesn't fuck around, I think it'll get done. All right. That's it for me. I'm talked out.
That's me, man.
Bronk, thanks for joining me, and thanks everybody in the chat room. And we'll be back again at the end of the week. We'll be looking at that. We'll see how we get through the week, and it's going to be a lot of talking on Friday about the big game.
Question for you: how's the viewership today? So all the pussy haters are not here, are they? So is the viewers numbers
actually the viewer numbers are good for a weekday program. The funny thing is that the Browns won. I'm getting 1,200, 1,300 views on post-game shows, and we win, and it was cut in half.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you something.
Haters.
Yeah. I mean, they want to see me go off because we didn't do well, and they don't like to see me with a big smile on my face going, now that's the way we're supposed to play. Yeah. That's the way it is.
Well, any news from Mary Kay Cabot? Has she been contrite today?
Yeah, she really has. But it's all this suck up to the coaches bullshit. Oh, the coaches got this job done.
Yeah, turned them around and
yeah, that's the narrative now at Cleveland.com. Don't give Deshaun Watson any credit. It's all the coaching staff. So
it's all the coaching.
Whatever. I just want the team to win. I don't want to get in the middle of that kind of crap. All right. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Back again Friday. Until then, hasta la vista, Pasture Heads. Good night.
Bye.